Welcome to season 3 of Behind the Start Lines. I'm your host, Troy Schooley. I have a special guest host today, Jeanine McGuire. Jeanine, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
I'm excited for several reasons today. All right. First off, we're sitting in this brand new studio that the team built, and I literally walked in about an hour ago, and I got nervous because this is legit.
Yeah, no,
Can you
absolutely.
Feel it? I feel like, KDK, WTAE, PXI, like they're going to be like, holy shit, this looks good.
You're a professional podcaster now.
I'm not there yet, but this will put me on my way. So I'm excited about that. I'm excited that we're finally back to a start line.
Yeah, so exciting.
So did you participate in the Fleet Feet Liberty Mile?
I actually was a spectator, and I was supporting a lot of the fellow P3 runners, so it was a great time.
You were there?
Yeah, I was there.
Talk about the excitement around that event.
It's been so long since we've all been
Right?
together in person.
We kind of forgot.
Exactly, and a lot of it was really great because I got to see friends I hadn't seen in years at this point, and some new faces with the fellow P3 runners who I met for the very first time, and we'd been supporting each other, through 2020, through Instagram and everything
Social
else.
media, that's how you guys kept in contact.
Yeah, and it was great and all, but to see each other in person and do the high fives before the race and after the race, there's just nothing to compare to that human interaction. So it was absolutely amazing.
Right.
And I think I even told you it was magical. It really was. It was just an amazing feeling.
It's not that we ever forget what a start line feels like, right? But me standing at that start line, the energy was palpable that night. It was unbelievable. And hopefully, as we get forward, we just had the Yinzer 4 and 2K. First off, tell us about your mom. This is what behind the start line's about, is not in the race, not the finish line, but it's everything that leads up. And you told me a little while ago about your mom.
Yeah, so my mom participated in her first ever P3R event at the Yinzer 4.12K. So it was just amazing to have that experience with her, to see her going from the sidelines and cheering me on and seeing me enjoy the sport, to her getting out there and being inspired to move with the rest of us. And it was just such a great experience for us to share together, and I'm just so proud of her. So my mom's awesome.
That she is awesome, first off. Second, was she a runner before that, or was she a mover?
No, she gets her steps. She walks at the
steps.
river, and her goal was originally, to run a 5K by the time she was 60. So now she's starting to get into the 5K, so it's really great that was a good distance for her to feel comfortable, but still a challenge. So it was really awesome for her to get out there.
And she felt good after?
Yeah,
she was
did.
excited?
She's like, I could have went harder, and she finished with her hands up, and she was all excited about the crowd, and she went on and on, just like I do at all of my races. But to see my mom get just as excited was a lot of fun for me. It was almost more fun than actually getting to participate, to be honest.
Absolutely. And you can tell there's a little competitiveness in her, which I like.
Yes.
Because we'll see her at the 5K now. You watch, next year she'll be running the 10 miler.
Yeah, there we go.
So that's awesome. So tell us, you participate in so many events, not just regionally, not just P3R events, around the country. Tell us a little bit about your fall schedule right now. What are you looking forward to? What do you got going on? I know there's probably a laundry list, but tell us a little bit about it.
Yes, it's going to be hard to keep track of, but we have the Steelers 5K. We have Great Race Weekend. We have the Flyby 5K. YMCA Turkey Trot, and then of course my favorite race of all time is the EQT 10 miler. So that's my favorite race. Very much looking forward to that.
That's exciting.
And I think that's enough races for a while after that, right?
So that's your goal race this year, right?
Yeah, that's my goal race at this point. So I'm super excited about that.
And what's your favorite part? And I think I already know it. The 10 miler.
Is it the finish line?
Well, maybe.
No.
But what did we do in 2019 that got the response?
Yeah, absolutely. Every mile is Pittsburgh theme. That's the best part. I mean, I love fall racing. I love that distance, the Pittsburgh theme. So there's just nothing you can beat about the 10 miler, in my opinion. So it's hands down the best race, regardless of if it's Pittsburgh, Western Pennsylvania, all over the country. It's my favorite race.
I think the team's done a great job with activating all those different miles. So it's almost like it's not a race. It's like you're running through different themes, and we kind of trick you to run 10 miles, right? So Mr. Rogers Miles, the third mile, the Pittsburgh Yees with Pittsburgh dads out there on 6 and 7, one of the miles. There's so many different activations. By the time you finish, you're like, oh shit, I ran 10 miles, and I had a great time, and it felt like I was doing different things.
Exactly.
So, yeah,
it's an amazing experience for anybody.
Awesome. So I'm super excited about our guest today to kick off season 3. We talked about all these events coming back after 18 months, the 10-miler, the marathon registrations open, which is awesome. And the response has been tremendous. People just itching to get back to the actual Dick's Sporting Goods Pittsburgh Marathon start line. But we wanted to pay homage today for past Pittsburgh Marathon, where it began, where it started. As we know, the marathon started in 1985. There's a lot of stories, there's a lot of histories up until 2004. And then the marathon went away because of financial issues with the city, title sponsors, and things like that. So today we're going to turn back the clock. We're going to talk about somebody that has participated in both sides of the journey, right? So the one side I always say is 1985 to 2004. And then the next side, the rebirth, is 2009 to now. So we're going to have somebody that's been involved with both, which is super exciting because me and you weren't around in well, I was around, but I had no idea what the Pittsburgh Marathon was. So yeah, just digging a little bit deeper into that first race, 1,500 men and 221 women competed in the 1985 marathon. It's crazy.
It is, especially when you look at participation today, how crazy it's exploded in Pittsburgh, the running boom, people's excitement about the sport. But seeing the comparison from where it started and where it is truly incredible.
And the one thing that sticks out to me is the number of men versus women versus today. The ladies run this event, right?
Of course we do.
Absolutely. We're like 60%, 40% on the ladies. You know what I mean? Like, so obviously the demo has changed, which is great. A little bit, these are great stats. The weather conditions in 1985 on May 5th, 63 degrees, partly cloudy. What do you think about that?
It's a little warm for me.
That's what I was thinking when I saw that. I'm like a 50-degree guy.
I like 40s.
Do you like it?
50s.
So that's why you like the 10-miler.
Yeah, I love that cooler weather.
It's always like 40 degrees at the start.
Yeah.
It gets up to 52 and people are like, oh my gosh, it's so hot.
You never know what you're going to get in May.
Right. And that was my next point. By the time the last runner finished, it was 74 degrees. That is pushing it.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's getting warm. So hopefully everybody made it, through that year safely. Another thing that a lot of people don't know is we've hosted the Olympic trials here twice. 88 for the women and 2,000 for the men. It's a big deal.
That is a big deal. That's great.
That's like an unknown fact for a lot of marathoners.
I just learned that fact myself.
There you go. Spread the word on it.
We got to bring it back.
No. And I knew you were going to say that. We will not be doing that. But congrats to whoever put that on in 1988 and 2000. That's a big deal. So like I said, it went away in 2004, came back with Dick's Sporting Goods. In 2009, we were able to get a title sponsor. There was a group that brought the marathon back. I won't go through all their names. They're a great group of people, but Patrice Matamoris, who sat in my seat prior, was really the leader of that. She was dedicated. She put tons of time and effort to kick off that 2009 marathon. And a little backstory about that 2009 marathon, because I've got so many stories about it. But Patrice tells a story. This group brings her back. They call her. Patrice she was working on some charity events. She was a college runner. She was working on some charity events for the school district that her kids were living in. Somebody called her and said, hey, would you want to be involved with Pittsburgh Marathon? And she's like, yeah, I would, well, would you want to be race director? The Pittsburgh Marathon, I don't know what race director is. I'm putting on a 5K for, my kids' elementary school. So she puts tons of time and effort. This lady, she was working 18, 20 hours, like crazy hours just to be able to execute this one after they signed Dick's Sporting Goods. And the story goes is, when they were talking to Dick's Sporting Goods, they were asking how many participants do you think we can have in the first year? And safely, Patrice, in the group said, our goal would be 5,000, right? That's amazing. The marathon went away for 5 years. In 1985, I just mentioned there was 1,700 people. Let's shoot for 5,000. Well, within the first couple of months, they have 5,000. They have 6,000. Well, it turns out Patrice in her first year had 11,000 participants in 2009, exceeded all expectations, and it's grown from there. So there's so many great backstories about what I call the rebirth and the time and the effort and really the manpower and the sweat and blood and tears that went into bringing back what we have today, right? 40,000 people.
Yeah, it's incredible.
It's insane. In all ages, you know, with the kids event, all sizes, all everything. And it's great to see that. So I want to talk a little bit about our first guest today, and then we'll introduce him if that's cool. Have you looked the notes? He's pretty impressive.
Yes, I did. I read his blog too.
Great blog.
Mm-hmm.
I have a feeling he's going to be really good on this. Maybe probably better than
us.
It
sounds
is
like
fine.
He's done this before.
That's why we ask people like Dexter to come on. Dexter Braff. He was at the start line at 10:35 to run his 13th marathon in 1986. So in 1986, he already 13 underneath his belt. The question I have, Jeanine, is why was he at a start line at 10:35 a.m.? So
Poor planning.
We're going to have to ask him.
Someone that wasn't a meteorologist, I guess, when they were thinking about
we
this.
have people there at 5:35 now. So when Dexter comes on, we'll ask him why it was so late, and maybe that's so. To the next point of that, the high that day was set to reach 87 degrees. All right, so I probably would have left at 10:35. I would have felt that and said,
yeah, I'm out.
I can wait for my 13th marathon some other time.
I'll wait till November.
Right. But Dexter didn't do that.
No.
He pushed through, and he was still unable to finish. But I'm assuming, and we'll talk to Dexter, that there was tons of drops that day. He probably wasn't the only one, but hot temps are the worst.
Yeah, tough conditions.
And we just kind of thought you hate running at hot temperatures.
Yeah. So I'd be out for sure.
Do you even show up? Like, if you look at the weather, do you even show up?
No, I still show up.
Do you?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, absolutely.
just to support. So.
But I'm not doing 26.2 miles in that. So in all fairness.
True. So getting back to Dexter, this is a guy, 13th marathon, 1986. He had some health complications along the way. He started training with Fleet Feet Pittsburgh. We love our people at Fleet Feet. They do a great job with their training. He signed up for the 2017 Dick's Sporting Goods Pittsburgh Marathon. So if my math is right, that's over 30 years. He came back and he said, listen, I want to complete that marathon that I wasn't able to complete in 1986.
Nice. It probably would take me 30 years to recover from it, too.
Absolutely. 87 degrees. All right, without further ado, let's welcome, I feel like we've talked about him a lot.
Yes.
Let's welcome him on, Dexter Braff.
Thanks for having me.
How are you doing?
I'm doing really good. This is really cool.
I feel like I know your life story now. Actually, I know your running journey.
My running journey, yeah, it's been interesting.
Well, listen, thanks for joining us. And a little bit about Behind the Start Line, and the reason why you are the perfect guest is because we want to take that journey. We want the listeners to go through a journey of somebody like you that has battled, that has been through the ups and downs of running, and completed a goal, whatever that goal is. So I appreciate you on. So let's take me through. First off, me and Jeanine were just talking about 1986.
Right.
Tell me about that 1986 day, because I'm sure you remember it vividly.
Oh, I remember that terribly vividly.
in a bad way.
Yeah, I mean, it was my 13th marathon. I was an experienced marathoner. Yeah. When I was 25, I'd run a 2:38:51 in Philadelphia. I was not attempting to do that type of a time, but my goal was to be hanging around 3 hours. I trained to do all the training that I'd been used to doing, and I was a very experienced racer. I'd probably run 100 races up until that point, and I had just turned 29. But I'd moved to Pittsburgh in 1986, and I decided, well, I might as well run my new hometown marathon, and it was the second annual. And I said, great, signed up. May date, I was like, oh, May, it's a little late, but hey, it's cool. But what you may not remember, may not be old enough. In the early years of the marathon, and I think it changed after 1986, there was a little bit of a battle with the churches about not wanting streets closed at the earliest hours. And so the Pittsburgh Marathon, looking to try and be accommodating to the community, said, okay, well, we'll just start at 10:35. And it was like, okay, well, on this day it happened to be 86, 87 degrees.
Wow.
And I remember towing the line, going, yeah, I'm not a heat runner, but I was experienced. But I knew by 10, 11 miles, I think at that point, it wasn't the same course as it is now, but you were still going up Forbes Avenue at about the 10 or 11th mile. And I'm going up that hill and I'm going, I'm not making this. I got 15 more miles. I'm not going to make it.
That's the worst hill to go up.
I know you have 15 more miles,
yeah,
right? But I mean, I'd never dropped out of a race in my life. It was unknown to me. So I kept literally just chugging along. I drank at every water stop, but as you know, at some point you just can't absorb any more water.
Right.
So I actually felt bloated. I felt yucky. At the 21 mile mark, which was like at Baum and Liberty, I think at the time.
Yeah, probably. Yeah.
We were about to make that right-hand turn. I just put my hands on my knees. I stopped. It was the first time I stopped ever in a race. Yeah. Put my knees down, and somebody just grabbed my wrist and said, "You're out." And I'm like, "Excuse me?"
Yeah.
It was a medical personnel, and they had a medical tent set up right at that corner, and he had done a quick pulse check, and I think he probably thought, "Gee, this guy has no pulse.
Nothing's there."
I was in that classic dehydrated. I had the chills.
Yeah.
It was 90 degrees at that point. Yeah. There was no shade. They gave me 2 bags of fluids.
Yeah.
And then they said, "You can continue running." I'm like, "It's 6 hours."
Right.
Already.
Yeah.
The biggest.
I'm good.
Yeah. Well, but I will tell you, I went on the forgive the vernacular, the losers bus, and I was like, "Oh God, what an awful place to be." Everyone is in that bus and just very, very disappointed.
Yeah.
And one of the things that was also interesting was that it was before cell phones.
Sure.
My wife was waiting for me at the finish line. I had started the race with my brother. My brother finished the race at around about 3:20, 3:25. I didn't get to the finish line until probably 5.5, 6 hours. She had no idea where I was.
Wow. Now, do you think, so I think the person grabbing your wrist is a tremendous story because our medical personnel on the course are so important at every stop. Do you think, because you never dropped out of a race, I can tell you're a competitive, determined guy, do you think that person really helped you that day? I mean, just from a standpoint, like, it could have been serious. Well, because I can tell that you're not...
2 people died that day.
Yeah, yes.
1 runner died and 1 spectator died.
Yep.
At one point, I think I wrote in the piece that I wrote about it, the race director at the time was getting a runner down message every 15 seconds.
Right.
And that was towards the back end of the race. It was a bad day.
Yeah.
And, I don't know what would have happened to me if I kept on going. It would only been out of brute stubbornness to continue to go.
Yeah. And if you've had 100 races underneath your belt, I think that you would have kept going.
Yeah, it was just natural.
I know how you runners are.
You just don't want to stop.
Right. You don't want to stop.
Although I got to tell you, 35 years later, 40 years later, maybe.
You stop now. Yeah. So, Jeanine, we got our answer about the 10:35 start, which makes complete sense. But, we have a great relationship with all the churches along the course now. Yeah. So that's... I'm glad we answered that question.
We have God on our side now, right?
Absolutely. That's what they say. So, Dexter, let's back up. What got you into running? Actually, first off, talk a little bit about the documentary you just produced, which is tremendous. And I think that's probably where the start of your running career kind of kicked off, right?
Yeah. So my brother was a very good runner in high school. He ran 156 half mile, 420 mile. One of the best in Long Island. I grew up in Long Island. Okay. And I just got sick and tired of all my relatives saying how wonderful he was. And I was like, I need to get in on this action. So I started to run. And I was fortunate enough to be at a high school with a track coach and a track program that was just becoming one of the best programs in the country. We had some success. We had one particular runner who wound up becoming a national champion, a collegiate national champion, brought a lot of attention to the program.
Yeah.
And this coach was a phenomenal coach, but what made him phenomenal was not that he could coach the heck out of runners. A lot of coaches can do that. What made him special was that he treated all of his runners equally as important. So he was as delighted as a runner breaking 5 minutes for the first time as he was for a runner getting from 5:35 to 5:30.
Sure.
And at another issue that had popped up was that in my senior year, don't want to bring the crowd down, both of my parents died on the same day of illnesses. Oh. And he was there for me.
Yeah.
And so I loved this guy.
Yeah.
And the love that he had for his the whole running community was extraordinary. And I've just been thinking for many, many years, we need to do a documentary about this guy.
Because the impact that he had on your life.
And thousands of other
kids, yeah.
And thousands of others. And in 2019, I realized Coach was in his mid-70s. He was still healthy, but I didn't want to do an in memoriam.
Right.
I had some relationships with people at a film studio in New York, contacted them. We started the project in September of 2019. It's about Coach Paul Limmer from Long Island. He's the winningest track coach in New York State history. Wow. He has a record of, I think it was like 727 and 27. I mean, he rarely lost. I never lost a track meet when I was in high school.
That's a good percentage.
That's a good percentage. It's a good percentage. But the exciting thing about the documentary is my primary objective was to honor him. Secondarily, if it had any commercial appeal, it wasn't my intention, but we were trying to make the highest quality production we could. We submitted it to a bunch of film festivals, and I'm just delighted we were chosen as the opening night feature for the Stony Brook Film Festival in July, and we were received a Special Achievement and Directors Award. We were then at the Rhode Island Film Festival and received the Director's Choice Award. And since then, we've been accepted into the Boston Film Festival, the Hamptons Documentary Fest, the Maui Film Festival, and the New Hampshire Film Festival. Wow. So we've got six festivals. We're getting a lot of attention, and it's wonderful.
That's great. What's the title of the documentary called?
The documentary title is called The Fifth Man.
The Fifth Man.
And if you're a cross-country person, that has meaning for you.
Absolutely. That's great. And, Jeanine, I'm sure you've had coaches along the way. When Dexter tells us that story, I think of all of our Kids of Steel coaches in our schools, because we have 8,000 kids in our kids program, but we can't impact them like the phys ed teacher or the first grade teacher or the track coach within that school. But to your point, Dexter, they change thousands of lives. And that comes back to our mission here as well. It's just, we want people to move. We don't, like you said, 5:30 mile, 5 minute mile, 4:30. I don't care. These coaches are having impact on the kids' lives and the wellness and the health.
Yeah, it's one of the things about loving your races, because, way back when, I would have lined up at the 6 minute mile. Now I go with, what's the last marker you've got?
There you go.
And
we want to treat those people the same as the 5 and 6 minute milers.
Well, and
that didn't happen before.
Yeah. So where that takes me is I continued my running. I did a lot of road racing.
Yeah.
I think my best event that I ever had, I went to the University of Oregon, which was like in Eugene, where all the runners are.
That's track
I wasn't on the track team, but I was at the school when Alberto Salazar was there, who was the world record holder at the time. So I had continued my running career.
Yeah.
And I was steady running up until that 1986 race. That 1986 race, I was damaged by it.
Yeah.
I had never been in that condition. And I literally stopped racing. And I did not race again until the EQT 10 miler in 2016. So you're talking about 30 years between races. In between, I should mention that I had a heart attack and I had quadruple bypass surgery. And I was kind of thinking, boy, I want to be one of those guys that runs a marathon after a heart attack.
Yeah.
But I really wasn't thinking about it seriously. But I saw an ad about training for the EQT 10 miler with Fleet Feet.
Yeah.
And I live a couple of miles from where Fleet Feet is in Bethel Park, South Hills. And I very timidly decided that I was going to do it. And it was fantastic, wonderful experience running with people that just wanted you to do well.
Absolutely.
Or as good as you could. And a couple of times I couldn't finish my 10 miles. I was just too tired. And people said, and I said, go, go.
Yeah.
And they're like, no, we want to make sure everybody's okay. And it was a wonderful experience.
That's amazing. Jeanine, you've been in clubs, and talk a little bit about the running community, because I think what Dexter just said, like, I've seen so many people hang around or support that last place runner, or say, you know, I'll finish it with you, or I'll walk with you, or I'll wait for you. Like, tell us a little, like, the power of that is.
Yeah, absolutely. That actually had a similar experience as well. And I was at a group training run, and I just had I was dealing with some IT band issues at the time.
Yeah.
And sometimes with that, you kind of get that crippling pain and you just have to stop, right? And so I stopped, and I was on a group run. And this guy decided, you know, and he was a pacer for Steel City.
Steel City, yeah.
And so he's like, no, like, we're going to walk back to the garage together. And that's where we met. Well, that person is now my running coach and one of my best friends.
Oh, my God.
And so, and now I run with him regularly, 3-4 times a week. So absolutely, it's not just, you know, that running experience. It's also these people that become your best friends in life. And now I consider them my family. So it's absolutely, like, so important how the community can really change your life for the better.
Well, you know, Jean, that was my experience with Fleet Feet. And I will also tell you, the EQT 10 miler, fantastic race. It's a great race. I love that race.
So does Jeanine. It's her favorite race.
It is my favorite race.
I try not to miss many. I probably run 4 or 5.
Yeah.
So I ran that race in 1986. I'm sorry, in
2016.
2016, right. And I was like, oh, that was fun. I mean, I ran
Felt pretty good.
I ran better than I thought I would. And then so all the Fleet Feet people say, well, you know, training for the marathon starts in January. You should do. And I'm like, no, I'm not doing the marathon. And they go, well, just hang out with us.
Yeah.
And I said, okay. And, you know, 5 months later, I'm on the starting line.
Tell me about that start line, because that had to have been something special for you 31 years later.
It really was. I wanted to finish that Pittsburgh Marathon. It wasn't something that, you know, was constantly on my mind, but in the back of my mind from a running perspective, I wanted to get across that finish line. I remember waking up in the morning, it was 3:30 in the morning, getting ready, and there was a text from my oldest daughter, and it was fantastic. It said, run as slow as you can for as long as you can. And I thought, that's perfect. That's exactly right. It was unusual for me that I had to plan meals, because instead of running a 2:38, I was planning on running somewhere around 5 hours.
Yeah.
And my plan was to run about a 10:30 pace, and I was on pace. I had some pain in my foot, but I was able to manage that. And I was on pace until about mile 17, 18. And the pain in my foot started to get really bad. And of course, you know where this is going. At mile 20, I'm like, oh my God, I'm at the exact same point.
Yeah, you're right in East Liberty.
I'm about to make the turn onto Liberty.
Yep.
And I would love to tell you all that I was like, I'm not stopping. And I thought about it.
Yeah.
Because I was hurt. And I was miserable.
Sure.
But I was like, during my training, I had gotten used to the idea of, all right, I'm not going to run the next 6.2 miles, but I can run 100 steps.
Yeah.
That I can do. And so I'd run 100 steps and I'd walk 30 steps and do it again and again and again. And you know what? Those miles melted away slowly, but they melted away. But what was really fun for me was I get to the 23-mile mark, and I think you're at the bottom of the hill after Liberty Avenue. Now you got that 2 or 3 mile shot, that straightaway, which is just mind-numbing.
There's not much there, right?
Not much there.
So we're working on that, because I've heard that from more than one person.
Well, it's psychological.
Yeah, because you're already in your head.
Yeah.
In your Liberty Avenue with not much going on around you. You just came from a great place in Bloomfield, and they're having a party. And
that's right.
You came from a downhill, and that was great.
Right.
And then you're 2 miles of
and you
desolate land.
And you can see the downtown, and you go, well, that's really close.
It's not that close. Yeah.
But I knew that I was told that there were going to be a bunch of people from Fleet Feet at mile 25.
Yep.
And I was like, okay, I got to get to mile 25. So I crossed mile 23 into 24. And now it's like I took 2 steps and I go, why am I not at mile 25 already? I was just waiting, looking. I was like, where is it? Where is it? Where is it? And then all of a sudden, they were a little bit before the marker. And all of a sudden I heard somebody scream, Dexter!
Oh.
And it was some of the people from Fleetwood.
Yeah.
And I just got this, it was just a wonderful feeling.
Yeah.
I didn't cruise in to finish,
Right.
but I felt like I had people that cared about me.
Sure. And you knew you could finish once you heard your name being shouted.
Yeah.
You know?
And it turned into, I finished the race. I ran, 4:44, 4:45. And, not even anywhere near my fastest time, but it's the best marathon I ever ran.
Yep. That's amazing.
Most exciting, most rewarding.
That's amazing. Jeanine, any stories like that, just battling through? Because, if we think of running, and not just races, but just running in general, Dexter's battling with his mind at, mile 20. Now, granted, your foot's hurting too, but it's a mental thing. So
but you know what? As well changed as you are, everyone is thinking about why do I have another 6 miles?
The same, right? That's where the wall is. That's where the block.
No,
How do you battle through it, Jeanine?
The same thing. It's so crazy that you can't even describe it, to be honest, when you are just kind of having that mental battle in your mind, why am I doing this? There's still kind of a bit of race to go, going through all that, and you want to quit, but you want to keep going all at the same time. But when you hear your name in the crowd, I don't know what it is. It just gives you like an extra boost.
It's
and
adrenaline. It's adrenaline,
it
right?
It really is. It's just crazy though, because like all of a sudden you're like, all right, I got this, and then you like can power through to the end, and just that little thing, just someone cheering for you, just gives you that extra boost that you need to like go, no, I got this. Like I'm going to do it for me. I'm going to do it for them. And so it's just an incredible feeling, and it gives you that extra energy you need just to carry you through to that finish line.
Yeah.
Well, one of the things that's interesting, and I don't know if you've experienced this, but when I'm at that 25 to 26 miles, that last mile, I still don't think I'm going to get across the finish line. It's like, it's so hard. And again, I felt the same way when I ran my 2:38:51. If you're running hard, you're going to hit the wall at 22, 23, 24 miles. But I will tell you, one of the best things about the Pittsburgh Marathon is making the right-hand turn on Boulevard of the Allies. Because you don't see that finish line yet. And you're going, where is this finish line? And you make the right. And then I think if I got it right, it's a little bit of a downhill.
It is, yeah.
And a slight uphill to the finish line, but very short.
Only like 10 yards now.
Yeah.
Yeah,
okay.
it's very,
And the crowds are there, and that last 400 yards, whatever. And I remember being very, very deliberate about that finish line and getting towards the finish line and adjusting my stride so that I could land exactly on the red line on the finish. And there's a picture, that wonderful picture that you guys get, and my foot has just landed square on that red line. And it's
Do we got that one
pictures.
framed?
No, you know what? I don't have a frame, but I have it all over the place.
Good. All right, that's all that matters, because you should be proud of that. Wow, that's a great segue.
I know, right?
I'm always looking for segues, and that is tremendous. Dexter, you don't know about Jeanine, but she is somewhat famous on social media because of her finish line faces.
So what do you do?
Go ahead.
I mean, I don't even know how it happens, to be honest. But I look a lot better standing still today than I definitely do running at a finish line. I call it the WTF face. Where's the finish? And they always just seem to get you at the wrong angle. They're like laying down.
Oh, yeah.
You're looking up the clock, so your eyes are rolled up to the back of your head. I probably got like my mouth is open. You're tired, but you're fighting for every second. So I'm just one of those people. I'm so competitive that I just want to get every single second. So I don't care what it looks like at the end. And then I get these pictures and the emails, and all my friends have these beautiful profile pictures of that are professional.
Dexter crossing the finish line right on the red line.
Yeah, mine, I just love.
Jeanine it doesn't even look like you.
No.
Let's make that very clear.
My mom one time was like, "Oh, that's a really unfortunate person." I'm like, that is me.
Yeah. Well,
and I want you to purchase these for Christmas. I actually asked her to buy them. She was like, wait. that's the worst photo I've ever seen of you in my life, but you want to buy it. But you know what I say? I'm like, what? Every other picture I take, I'm posed, right? That is like pure emotion right there.
That's the emotion that we're looking for.
There is no more real, raw emotion, but that's the thing. I'm like, yeah, I'm in pain there, but in 2 steps, I'm done with this race,
You're
and
finished.
I just got a PR, and I'm feeling great.
A goal.
Exactly.
The great thing about it is our friends at Marathon Photo send so many emails out. Yeah. So you get to relive that probably once a month. How do you feel about that? Should we take you off the list from Marathon Photo?
No, sometimes I go back and I'll look at I'm like, do you still have those 2015 Pittsburgh Marathon photos?
Well,
and
there's some infamous ones from the 10 miler too.
Oh yeah, those are usually my favorite ones for sure.
Great.
Yeah, I have a whole Facebook album. It's the only album on my Facebook that I have public. It's called "I Should Be a Model," because they're just so awful that they're so funny that it's just share it with the world and just everyone can laugh
You're not
with
ashamed
me.
of
Well, my running pictures now, I don't like watching them because it doesn't look like I'm running because it's just I'm not in speed.
Right.
But the picture that I got from that first EQT 10 miler. I don't know, they got the angle just right. And that's my Facebook picture because it's I ain't getting another better running picture
awesome.
of current
Well, and you're
Dexter.
moving too, right? It's all about moving. Big plugs to Marathon Photo today. Let's note that. Oh man, our guys are getting but yeah, I mean, race photos are intriguing, especially when you have ones like Jeanine.
Yeah.
Dexter, what's on the agenda? What do we got coming up?
So I'm definitely going to run the EQT 10 mile.
Great.
And I really, really, really want to get one more marathon in. I'll turning 64 in another week or so. But I don't know if I can do it. I've in the last 2 or 3 years, I've noticed it's just gotten really difficult.
Yeah.
I'm getting the training in. I'm running around 30 miles a week, but Jeanine, I can't go more than 2 or 3 miles without walking. So I've done the Galloway method.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say.
And I, it's fine. I don't mind walking.
Yeah.
So I think my plan is that I will start with Fleet Feet in January, and I'll see if I can get through it. If I can get through the training, I'll do it.
And you'll be at the start line with all of us.
I really, really, really would love to be at the start line. The last race run that I did, a group run with Fleet Feet, because I haven't done a group run because I'm not in good enough shape. My last group run with Fleet Feet was in March of 2020, and it was a 20 miler, and I was ready for Pittsburgh Marathon. And I was like, nope, not going to happen. And then 2 years later, I'm like, I don't know if I can do it, but I want it bad. So we'll see.
So we'll check back in January and see where you're at.
You'll check back.
Well, good luck. I'm sure the people at Fleet Feet do just such a great job with their training and in preparing the runners, all of all abilities, all ages, and that's what's great.
Well, and sort of Steel City. I mean, there's 2 really good clubs that have similar philosophies.
And we have a couple other clubs that have popped up, throughout COVID. City of Bridges, the Pittsburgh Rogue Runners. Who am I forgetting anybody? I mean, there's been some great clubs that have popped up and kind of spread out, and it's great to see. And it's, and Dexter, you can probably talk a little bit about this. When I started here, 2013, my office, I can look out the trail. I would never see runners. I'm like, how the hell do we get 20,000 people at this marathon? But through the years, this running community has continued to build. Now I can look out at any time and see a runner cross my window, and a lot of times they'll have an EQT, a marathon shirt on. What was it in '86 compared to what this community is now and what this city is?
Yeah, so I think in '86 it was also, you mentioned '85 was like 1,700 runners.
Yeah.
I think 2,600 runners total line that day. Well, first the running boom, took over. I think Pittsburgh is such a beautiful place to run. Yeah. It's a very supportive community. And it is interesting about the dynamic of the ratio of women to men. Yeah. All of the Fleet Feet training that I do, there are more women than men.
Yeah.
I've been doing the speed workouts. Of course, speed now is kind of a euphemism for something else, but that's okay.
All right.
And there's probably, 5 guys and, 15 women.
Yeah.
So I think broadening the base dramatically has added to the numbers. And it's, you don't need a gym.
Right. We got great trail systems. We got great
You
parks
got
here.
great trail systems.
Yeah. It's great to see. It feels like every year more and more I can look out on that trail and be proud, not just what we've done at P3R, but what the whole running community's done. Because a lot of the times, it's the person that helped you, Dexter. It's the person that your coach, Jeanine, that stayed around when you had IT problems. You know what I mean? It's those people that we should give the credit to for this boom. And yeah, there was a boom in 14 and 15, but there's another boom coming. You know what I mean? Like during COVID, we see that a lot of people picked up running. I
think another part of it, and to give a plug to P3R, is that you guys do a good job in getting the word out there, and you have a lot of races. You have a lot of entry points.
Right.
Hard races like the marathon, right. But the mile.
Sure.
All of these smaller races. And so you do them in interesting ways. Do you guys do the Mariello?
Yeah, we manage. Yeah. Yep.
So my daughter's first race was the Steelers 5K, because you finish in the park in Hinesfield.
Right.
So all of these nice little strange, fun little things draws people out, and then you get sucked in, because you see all these people with Steel City running shirts back from the 30s,
right?
And you go, I got to get one of those colorful T-shirts.
Well, Janine's mom got the bug, so we event managed the 4.12K for the Light of Life Rescue Mission, raised a ton of money, which is great. But she caught the bug because it was about the experience, right? And that's what we want. We can't go find 5-minute milers out there, but we can find Janine's mom who wants an experience and wants to be healthy. And I think that that's a great point, is that, and it's not just us around the country, there shouldn't be barriers to running. Like with our kids program, starting out at a mile, the kids run, a quarter a mile in the school, and then they run a mile down here, like, oh, I just ran a marathon. We're like, well, but not quite, but yeah, that's good. You got your medal, and they display that shirt proudly. And I think that's the important part, is to get more and more people involved.
I remember running with my now 33. Oh, my wife's going to kill me.
That's all right. We'll edit that.
That's right.
Yeah.
But we did the mile. It was a mile. And you were running like around the fountain. There was a course there. And she had so much fun.
Yep.
So much fun. And one of the things that was really great about it is that, all the kids are like sprinting out there. And I said, no, don't go. And she goes, Daddy, we're so far behind. I said, trust me, honey.
Yeah.
Trust me. And of course, in the last quarter mile, passing everybody, goes, boy, Daddy, you really didn't know about this stuff. I'm like, well, I know kids go out too fast.
They go out way too fast. Yeah, we see that every year. Well, this has been absolutely great. Any final thoughts or words? I hate to put you guys on the spot, but any final comments?
No, I'm just excited to be back at, a live start line. I don't really have any other words, but just excited to, be back out there, and hopefully we see everybody else out there too.
Yeah, and we'll see you a lot this fall. We got a busy fall schedule.
And we're going to get my mom out there too, especially calling her out now. So now she has to sign up for all these races.
Mom will be at all the 5Ks, and her goal race next year is going to be the EQT 10 miler, because how much you love it.
Exactly.
So, Dexter, will I see you at a start line soon?
You will see me at the EQT 10 miler.
Great.
I don't know how long it'll be for me to get to the finish line, but who cares?
It does not matter, and that'll be a great event.
But and now there's a cookie table, so
Absolutely. And there was pierogies, but that might not be COVID friendly.
Well, but there's also pickles, which I was like, I'm not having a pickle at the 8 mile mark or whatever it was.
Right. I mean, that event's a perfect example. We're going to give people the best experience out there and Jedi mind trick them into running 10 miles while having a great time doing it. So thank you both for joining us. I love doing this podcast. It gets me out of the office, it gets me out of meetings, but it gives me the ability to talk to people like you guys and share stories that I don't always see, because usually I'm stuck at a start line or in a meeting or up on the roof looking down at the participants. So I appreciate both you coming in. We have so many great guests. Season 3, you guys just kicked off an unbelievable season. We have tons of great guests coming up on season 3. Thanks for tuning in. Make sure you tune into either Apple, Spotify, all of the places that you listen to your podcast on. And you can also find us on YouTube. Find us on YouTube and check out this new studio. The P3R team has done an unbelievable job with this studio. Our producer, Sam Exler, does a great job week after week with this, and we're really excited about Season 3 of Behind the Start Line. You can also follow us on social media at Run with P3R, and then you've heard me during season 2. I love questions. Please send me questions because I like to educate people about what we do here at P3R, our goal to inspire any and all to move. So send us an email, drop us a thought of any question you want to ask me. I'm not shy, as you can probably tell. behindtheline@p3r.org. behindtheline@p3r.org. Thanks for listening. We'll see you guys soon.